Hello and welcome to step 4. We are getting closer to creating our first digital breakout using Google Sites. So in our last video, we made sure that we had all of our folders ready. In our subfolder for this specific digital breakout, we made sure that we had a copy of this demo planning form. We also opened that demo planning form. We wrote our background story, and then we created our specific site. We added a text box, got that demo story in, or that background story in there, and we even have the answer to our first clue, which we then went back and put in to our lock 1 page. So one thing I want to show you before we go on your folder page in Google or in Google Drive, right now, all you might have in here is this planning form. If you want to have the site here, you totally can get it there. Now you'll be able to access your site by going to sites.google.com. All of your sites will be there. But if you want it in your specific folder and drive, the easiest way to do that is to go to your My Drive homepage. And it should pop up here in your quick access because you recently just opened it. The easiest way to move it is to right click on it to find where it says move to, and then work your way to that specific folder. So My Drive, Digital Breakouts, and specifically this demo breakout. Now, since I am recording, I can't get down to where I click to actually move it, but once you do get it moved, it will show up right here. So now you have two things in that subfolder, your demo breakout planning form and your actual breakout link. So the next thing you're going to need is your Google form. Now the Google form is where you create your locks themselves, since we don't have the physical locks we can touch, and it's where the students put their answers. Now your locks require two pieces. The image that shows on the site, so that's what the kids are going to click on. That's where they're going to get their clues. It might also be the text that's in your background story. The question and the puzzle that they then have to work on to solve the clue, and then of course the actual physical place where they answer the lock. So here is how we're going to create our form. To do that, we're going to go to docs.google.com/forms, and I'm going to create a blank form. Once I get here, I'm going to specifically leave this untitled form. The very first thing I want to do on this untitled form is I want to make sure that this thing is collecting email responses. If you remember in video 1, I showed you that when I made my very first one, I did not have that toggled, and as a result, every form that was submitted had right answers, but I had no idea who submitted what. So I'm going to click up here on this gear wheel for settings. At the very top, I'm going to collect my email addresses. That way I know who is specifically filling out this form. Also, this is tied to just Auburn Washburn users. That way I'm not getting anyone else in here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Save. Now, as I progress through this, personally, as I make questions, I like to update the form as I go. That way I can keep track. So when we were working in the last video, we made lock number 1, which was a word lock. So I'm going to come to my untitled form and I'm going to write word lock number 1. Now, I'm going to have to type in my answer. So here's how we make this work. Oh, also, keep it simple. Put all caps or answer in all caps and parentheses. That way there's no room for confusion. Next, I'm going to make sure that the short answer response is selected. Then I'm going to toggle where it says response required. Next to that toggle are these 3 vertical dots. I'm going to click on those, and I'm going to select response validation. And here's where I'm going to type in my answer. I'm going to use a regular expression, and it's going to match, and I'm going to type my answer. So my answer to that one was create. Now I'm going to create a custom error text. So if the students don't get it right, this is going to pop up. That's going to tell them that they either left it blank or they got it wrong, and as a result, that is still locked. Now, from here, we're going to come up to presentation, which is in our settings wheel. Now we're going to have a confirmation message. So when they're all completely done, we're going to type something like, congrats, you broke out. Show this to your teacher, get a prize. Woo! Include the woo for effect. I'm just kidding. Now, as you work through your form, what I suggest doing every time, that way you don't have to fill this out every time, is coming over here where you can actually duplicate your question. So it's these little squares right here where it says duplicate. Now you're going to want to make sure that you edit this every time, okay? But that's just my super tip. So for example, you might have word lock number 2. Your answer might be snails. We'll duplicate it again. Maybe this one will be number lock number 1. And the answer is going to be 2020. And then maybe the last lock will be a directional lock. And for the directional locks, basically what you're going to do is you're either going to have a picture with that you'll need to upload that will have arrows or directions. In my example, for this one, the students had to go to Instagram. And from here, they learned that they had to follow us on Instagram. And if students followed us on our Instagram page, they would see a picture of me holding up directions. So let me see if. So here is our Washburn Rural High School Instagram page. When the students came here, they would find this picture of me, which was at the top at the very beginning. And if you zoom in, you can see the specific arrows that they had to point out, okay? So once we got here, the students knew what specific directions to include. And they just typed the letters. So up, down, left, that's not a left, left, right, up. And that would be what arrows I used. So here is our form. Go ahead and take a few minutes to create your form. Make sure that it is collecting email addresses and work through this process. Just to review, I'll do it one more time with you. We'll come down here. We'll create a new question. It will be directional block number 2. Answer caps for simplicity. Make sure it's on short answer. Make sure it is required. Make sure that you do have response validation. We want just a regular expression. It's going to match. And here's our pattern. We're going to do left, right, up. And our custom error text is going to be still locked. So go ahead and do that for your very first lock, since we know our answer is what it's going to be because you've already written your background story. And then we'll move on to video 5.